Hello, everybody. This is William del Pilar, and this is Fired Up Hot Takes. That's right, baby. We're going solo with hot takes. Usually, it's an extension of the main show, but for the last couple of weeks, my co-host, the G-Man, and I had been tackling the tariff. So, if you have not seen our 2 episodes on the tariffs, I'm not going to lie. It's about 3 hours of good stuff between the 2 podcasts, but you learn the real deal of why this is happening, what to expect, the truth about who's the mastermind behind this, etc., etc. And with that, let me bring on the G-Man here, my co-host for tonight. G, how you doing, brother?
Good. For the hot takes, I had to get a cold one.
There you go. There you go. I was wondering, is it short time no see instead of long time short time?
I know.
I thought it was a good episode, G, just to pump the audience up. I thought we did a great episode on putting the tariff, the trade wars into layman terms, off of debunking the Smoot-Hawley, debunking all the hate. Now, that said, there is risk here, people, but after and I think I'm pretty proud. I even surprised G. He didn't know Scott Bessent's background.
Yeah, that's true. And I think we did a pretty good job of countering the TDS media out there while being fair. I think we were fair because we know this could still be bad, but we believe we will be successful.
Exactly. So, my friends out there to the audience, before I go on, this is going to be a short episode here. It's what we call a clip, where we're not looking to waste your time. We're going to hit hard about 10 topics from around the nation that may not be getting the media traction it should because other big stories are taking up space, but it's important for you to know about. But before I go on, do not forget you can find, bookmark grumblingsmedia.com, grumblingsmedia.com. Bookmark it. You'll find this clip, all our Fired Up podcasts. And G had a solo show a couple weeks ago, so check that out. But you can also find us, and you're probably watching this on either YouTube, Rumble, or listening to it on Apple, Spotify, or Pandora. I love throwing out around my R's. Under the profile handle Grumblings Media. All right, so we got a hot takes round. This is what we call a lightning round. I'm going to give the topic, give a little bit of context to it so you understand where it's coming from. And then we're going to give our thoughts on it. I'm going to actually have G hit the first one because he made a correction to me on my notes here. And I saw the correction come in, but I don't remember what it was. So G, take it with number 1 there.
Yeah, so California's budget crisis and proposed cuts that we have Governor Newsom, who, is he's a center moderate. I don't know. Some people are going to buy that shtick. The rest of us, no. You're a far left loon, and you're trying to prepare for 2028 presidential run. But his proposed budget aims to tackle California's deficit, which I believe is around $45 billion. I think it was projected to be $73 billion, but they did somehow. I think it was more revenue combined with some cuts. Say again?
He's playing with the numbers.
Yeah, exactly. So what's going to happen? Well, Medi-Cal is a state-funded health insurance, and I just don't believe in government-run healthcare, right? So what happens is when the government starts to run out of money, then they cut services to the people, which is what's going to happen. So Newsom is planning to slash Medi-Cal provider reimbursement rates by $1.2 billion, despite Proposition 35's voter-approved mandate to increase the reimbursement rates using managed care organization tax revenue. And this is, healthcare advocates are concerned about this. It's going to reduce access to care for low-income patients. What are providers going to do, right? If a patient comes to you and they need a procedure that's going to cost $10,000, but Medi-Cal says, no, we'll give you $5,000. Well, now the hospital has to somehow make this happen for $5,000 or lose money in the process. So they might actually tell that low-income patients, you know what? Maybe you just take this pill and go home.
Yeah.
Forget the procedure, right?
It's sad.
So, the administrative delays that are going on right now is by March 31st, 2025, there was a deadline to submit Proposition 35 paperwork, and basically they didn't meet it. So they've delayed the rate increases and costs federal matching funds for Q1 2025. So they're going to pay the old rates, and they're not going to get federal matching. So everyone's frustrated. This is why government healthcare sucks.
Right. Well, my take is simple. The people passed a law. I don't care what anybody says. Prove me wrong. They failed at their jobs. To me, that is, I forget the word they use. When you do something so blatantly wrong, it's beyond forgivable. And that's this here. He's breaking the law. And there will be lawsuits from healthcare groups. And what G is saying, people, is money. They're supposed to give more money. So what happens is a doctor has patients. Patients are paying them a certain amount. Doctors have lives too. So then comes somebody so you're on Medi-Cal. So I charge $100, but Medi-Cal is only going to pay me $25. My schedule's full because I have all these other patients, so I can't see you. Then he just stops taking Medi-Cal. These funds are supposed to be, so I charge $100. Oh, Medi-Cal's going to pay me $100. Come on in, Jose. That's not going to happen now. That is directly on Newsom. The Republicans will use this on Newsom, but you, the public, should be calling the governor's office over and over, but you won't, because you believe every ignorant lie he says as he bends you over. Maybe not you today, because today he's bending over grandma and grandpa, but tomorrow he's going to bend you over. That's my take on it. Gee, do you want to keep handling it, or do you want me to take over here?
No. Just one comment before you go on to number two. But my thought is that when you hand over the reins to government to basically run the show here for government-run healthcare, so now we're criticizing the fact that government won't meet its obligations, which they never do, right?
Right.
So, but Medi-Cal has promised to basically provide all the money for the healthcare, and they just won't. And Medicare is in the same situation, right? In Medicare, so these doctors and hospitals, they are a business too. As much as you want to think that they're donating their time, they are a business, and they will prioritize the biggest profit potential while being compassionate human beings. So, this is not it's like someone coming to you and saying, "Hey, can you help me with my toilet? It's broken. How much are you going to pay me?" Nothing. I'm not going to pay you anything. Aren't you a compassionate human being? You're just going to say, screw you. No, you're going to pay me something, and my time's worth something. So it's not about compassion. It's about running a business and making money on it. And government shouldn't be in that business, but here we are.
Right. It's funny how Dan Crenshaw and other Democrats and Republicans all want pay raises, but then the Bernies and AOCs, miracles are right. That's a right. Really? So what, are they supposed to live off of canned beans? Because that's what they want you to believe, but they don't. And for my issue with my anger on this, G, is we know it's a screw up. Government is. But this was a law passed by the people, and he is going to the people. And he doesn't care. And what makes it worse is the media is protecting them. This should be front page everywhere in California news, but it's not. Grandma and grandpa, they're bending you over, but that's what you get for voting for this guy over and over and over. The Jerry Browns, the Kamalas, horizontal hairs. Anyway, you got me all riled up with the first topic, G. All right. Hot take number 2, Defense Health Agency's union time cause. So the Defense Health Agency, they're part of a union. So on the government's dime, about 83,000 hours, they worked on union stuff, and we paid them to. Those are two separate issues. Our high costs, their uber super duper paychecks that they get from working at home, that cost us $3.3 million. 75% of that time was devoted to working for their union, not their jobs. My take is this. Union workers for the federal government who were working from home went to work to protest going to work. That's the quality of people. So this does not surprise me, but we need to clamp down and find a way to get that money back from the union. Your thoughts, G?
So they're not able to negotiate their pay. This isn't about pay. This is about the height of their cubicle walls. This is about how often they need to come into work every week. This is about whether they can wear spandex shorts at work. I mean, talk about the battle of the bulge, right? So,
That's not a good bulge.
No, I think it's an absurd thing that they're spending so much time and ultimately so much money on this. And then, I mean, if Doge can get in there and say, hey, we need to basically cut down on this, they need to do it, because unions exist for a reason. But if they're not negotiating pay and they're taking that monthly cut out of your paycheck, they got to show something for that money.
Yes, they
And
got to
it's
justify it.
arguing about spandex and cubicle wall heights. So absurd.
So what's happened, people? Unions had a specific job to do, and we needed unions, and we still do. The problem is unions are corrupt. Before I go on, the first point on the Medi-Cal, that was from Sacramento Bee. I like to give G credit to where the sources are for the lightning rounds. The Defense Health Agency came from the New York Post. Hot take number 3, Apple's innovation struggles amid the tariff fallout. So Apple is facing market losses from Trump's tariffs and setbacks. However, what seems to have come out of this with some stories is Apple's ability to innovate. Since Steve Jobs died, all that dumb gray-haired guy with glasses has done is keep the ship moving forward, but hasn't grown anything. They've grown because of iPhone sales. So they're a one-trick pony right now. Their MacBook, computer sales, it's all like peanuts. And if they had their way, they'd probably do away with it and eventually just do the phones. And their Vision Pro, which was, I think, their 3D type
virtual reality. Yep.
That's it. Virtual reality has kind of flopped. Now they have tariff-driven losses. China's based manufacturing triggered a $773 billion drop in Apple's market capitalization. It popped up 3% the other day, but that's still a massive loss, and it's cost them their image as the world's most valuable company. Their stock price is falling 8% year to date. It's still at nearly 200. Their market cap is $3 trillion, and that's the overall company worth, correct? Their market cap as the stock market sees it, right?
Yep.
And so the AI and product setbacks is a real story here. I guess the question I have for you, G, is can Apple get out of this? Are they stuck, or are they ripe to be not overtaken, but is there a hungrier, smaller, more versatile company, or will Capital right the ship, or will Apple right the ship?
No, I think so. We've just landed in a period of time that's more evolutionary rather than revolutionary, at least as it pertains to hardware, right? Because we're now in the AI world, which is software. So that Apple's trying to catch up there, but that's more software and that's not their niche. But I think it's too hard to improve upon the iPhone in any reasonable way. I mean, I own my iPhone now for 3-4 years, whereas I used to buy it every year, right? And so they realize that. So they probably have a ton of features, but they release like one little feature every year, so that by 3 years in a row you go, okay, now I need to upgrade because I'm way too far behind. So I think it's going to be hard for them to do anything new. The problem with the Vision Pro was this price tag. It was $3,500, and you could buy a Facebook's Meta Quest for, I think it was $450, and get 95% of the experience and in a better ecosystem. Maybe Apple has a better ecosystem, but so I think Apple will catch up. But this is more of the late '90s for them. Like, okay, they're making good products, but nothing's really revolutionary. But there's nothing really revolutionary to make right now.
Hold on. That's the question, though, is they brought Steve Jobs back. I love telling the story. I used to hate my microphone Windows thing. I was like, you had to use a stylus. I go, why doesn't somebody just do something with button, with squares or something like that? And then boom, Steve Jobs came around. He gave what the market wanted, and then he made us want it more with the way he designed it. And my question to you here, before we move on from here, but real quick, is do they have a Steve Jobs in the house? See, that's what I question. I don't think what's Tim's name? The CEO.
Tim Cook.
Tim Cook is not Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs was the CEO, but he was also the chief driver. He was an extreme demander. He ran him like a slave ship, but they were innovative. I don't think they have that there. I think they're going to last for 2-3 more generations as top dog, but I think they are ripe to be taken over because of what you said. We are in an evolutionary age right now, meaning that's where we're going to see some, but there's still room for tech growth in that sense. But G, one more your point on that, but I also think these virtual reality, they may be getting the technology better, but the outlets that will use that, like gaming, they're nowhere near to be able to maximize the use, and the cost make those dead-end products. It's like the CD. People forget that CD was actually created in the 70s, but it went nowhere until the other technology to be able to use those CDs was in place.
Well, until the technology to play the CDs became cheap. So I
Exactly.
think these headsets will become cheaper. So no, I believe that they're going to be evolutionary. When you have like a small startup that comes up with something, so Facebook and Zuckerberg did not create the Oculus Quest.
Correct.
They bought a little company that actually created it and said, "No, you come join our team, and then we'll make something amazing together." And so I think Apple will just do that. They'll just suck up all these little groups, and everything will be tack on this feature, tack on that feature, release it with the new iPhone. But I have to say, what was it, 2 years ago, last year, when they no 2 years ago, when they came out with the titanium on the iPhone, you just know that there was like no ideas. Like, okay, let's
Yes.
just change the material. That's all they had.
It became marketing. It became marketing.
Right.
They get
And
you
last year, what they ended up adding was AI. But it's like all you did was add a piece of software to connect with the AI backend. That's not revolutionary either.
I got Grok when I just go to X on my AI on my phone. So
Right. I have an app too that does that. Yeah.
all right. And that story came from nowhere. I guess I must have found that story through a variety of sources. I do that since I have 2 or 3 articles or anything on the radio. Hegseth's proposal for Panama Canal security. Hey, that's my hometown. That's my backyard. Pete Hegseth calls for U.S. warships to secure the Panama Canal. So Chinese investment concerns. Hegseth points to China's control of key canal adjacent ports. That is true, people. As a Panamanian, the Chinese influence there is not a good thing. They are using the Panamanian people, and y'all don't see that because the mainstream media won't report it. But it's a Hong Kong-based company that's managing the port facility, and it's raising fears of potential Chinese leverage. Why? Because that Hong Kong-based company tried to sell it, and China stepped in and said, "No, you're not going to sell it." So now comes the military deployment proposal, which is our right to do. He advocates for U.S. naval presence to counterbalance China influence and ensure the canal remains free for American interests, citing the 1977 treaty. And as I said during our main show, Fired Up, Panamanians love Americans. Chinese, not so much. They love the Americans' goodwill. They love how America comes to help. The Army Corps of Engineers has given, when we were there, hundreds of millions of dollars of free help to the Panamanian people, helping build its infrastructure, helping. Panama G was the only country that was within third class, surrounded by third world countries, all that they had a middle class until Noriega took power. Then we became like another third world state. Your thoughts on this? Now, I get it. People getting nervous with the military deployment proposal. I'm not 100% for it, but I'm not against it. I'm like, well, I'm Panamanian. It's a return to form here. That's my take. And this comes from Fox News. Your thoughts?
Yeah. So for the past 20 plus years, the Chinese have been going around the world offering benefits to different countries in Africa and Asia and saying, hey, we'll help build your infrastructure, but we want something in return. And I think they saw an opening with Panama, right? So they come there and say, well, not only can we get something in return, like free or cheaper shipping rates or whatnot, but now they can screw us, right? So they were building a bridge across the Panama Canal, right? Is that correct? The Chinese were building a bridge, and they could screw with us by like, okay, let's put the bridge down because we got a bunch of trucks to go across, stopping all the shipping, right? They could do that.
There's bridges there, but I get your point. In essence, they would control who went where. Our warships could sit on one side for a long while,
Right.
just mess with us, and that's what they don't want. Plus, this is our backyard. This is our hemisphere.
Right.
You know?
And so they just know, I think they know if they can screw with us in our hemisphere, they would gain some edge. To be fair, and I'm fair, we got a bunch of ships right off their coast, right? Trying to protect Taiwan.
But see, we don't have any. We have business interests, but we have no formal relationship with Taiwan like we do with Panama, in the sense of the history, etc. So that's slightly different, but fully transparent. Good point. All right, space hot take number 5. Space Force Colonel Petufik base fired over email defiance. That is Greenland. Space Force Colonel, me too. No, I'm sorry. Space Force Colonel Susanna Myers. She got fired because she sent an email challenging J.D. Vance's Greenland stance. She emailed her space-based personnel and distancing the base from Vance's remarks on U.S. control during his visit. That's a no-no. The firing underscores the military doctrine. And that doctrine, which I lived my whole life, and then I, as a military service member, is a strict chain of command expectations, period. End of story. That's why I want Miley court-martialed. He is treasonous for going to China for back channels. Her move was not only insubordinate by the UCMJ, it was a political move, and that's not their job. Now, her supporters are like, they try to view it from a civilian stance. No, our job, G, is to kill or be killed. Period. End of story. And there's a strict hierarchy. When that begins to fail, countries begin to fall. Rome's army were all foreigners at its end, and there's a reason they could no longer hold off the barbarians. Your take: firing justified or not?
No, absolutely justified. She's not an elected official. She's working in a organized structure, and so she doesn't have the right to say whatever she wants. Well, she can, but there will be repercussions in terms of employment, and I think that's just fine in my opinion. So, she gets what she deserves, and she needs to be made an example of. I mean, the military needs to run a tight ship. Period.
Flogger! Flogging. That was like the tip on the whip, I once had a girlfriend like that. Hot take number 6: Trump's potential use of the aid. Let's skip this one. More information came out with the Supreme Court's decision, etc. So I'm going to hold off on that one for next week because we'll be doing it again next week on that. And what we can talk about is true, but there's a little bit more to add for that. I want to make sure I got my ducks in a row here. So hot take number 6, number 7. Trump's administration's drone strike considerations. We are actually revisiting this. The last hot take about a month ago, we did talk about this, but it's come up again. Trump's administration is exploring drone strikes on Mexican drug cartels. This is a fentanyl crisis driver. And they view the drone strikes as a potential tool to disrupt cartels responsible for smuggling fentanyl. The U.S. has an overdose epidemic, killing over 100,000 annually. So this has created diplomatic tensions. I don't know how I feel about this because right now, because of how we've secured the border, fentanyl rates have dropped. But I think they may be saying this to pressure Mexico's leader, who, as you stated about Xi, Trump praised Xi. He also praised Mexico's leader. And I think he's using this as a negotiating tactic, but it is creating tension. Your thoughts, G?
You're right. It could be, hey, nukes are always an option, right? That type of scenario. I actually doing strikes sounds very risky to me. One, how do you know you don't miss and hit a neighborhood of children? And two, even if you do get them every time, then they'll start using children as part of their raids, right? Like, hey, I got a clown. Why don't you come with me and you'll get some toys at the end, and then now we will stop bombing them. So I'm not sure I feel good about it, but maybe it's, like I said, it's more rhetoric than reality.
I think it's rhetoric, and I would say no, we can't do it because it's not a war zone like the Middle East. And let's be honest, none of us were happy when Obama droned an American citizen. He was an enemy, but that crossed the line. We're like, okay, we know he's an enemy, but what if it's not the enemy and they say it's an enemy next time? And because it happened once, and Obama drew no fire because of that, because he was Obama. And people who did bring it up, why are you being racist, G? You can't bring that up. You're being racist. Why? There's no racism. But and I think the same would happen here. Now, my take would be easy. I don't care if it's your family, but if it's a drug cartel leader's home, wipe them all out. That will send a message to everybody. So there's cases, but I'm like, no. That was brought to us by NBC News. Leftist rhetoric and violent terror. Leftist political rhetoric faces scrutiny for fueling violence. So Representative Dan Goldman's call to eliminate Trump, and media outlets labeling him a dictator, suggesting such language incites violence. It does. Look at Tesla. It does. So this is a repeating story, and I brought it up because it's not going away. They get away with this because the media covers for them. Now, the only reason that we can do it now on our side, we don't ever do it. You never hear somebody saying that. But Trump has made flamboyant comments too at times. They can't get Trump because they do it on a daily basis. Trump does a slip up at times or says something they interpret it that way. But we don't do it. And the Democrats are not railing their people in because they're okay with it. I go back all the way to SCOTUS and Judge Kavanaugh. I'm not a fan of his, but they didn't give him protection, and somebody tried to kill him. And the DOJ knew that. And I personally believe in my heart that's what the Democrats wanted, because then they could have gotten Biden to get one of their hats in there. I believe they wanted somebody to kill him. I believe Democrats want somebody to kill Trump. I believe Democrats want somebody to kill Elon. I believe Democrats want all the hate that happened to go, God, we got to get that guy out of office just to get peace. That's my belief from my heart that they want to see happen. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, so we look back at July 13th. Is that when the assassination attempt was? And I saw on X a lot of people saying he missed. Bummer. They were just disappointed. This whole time they've been talking about January 6th, right? The insurrection. I'm like, insurrection? What happened? Oh, they stormed the Capitol attempting to take over. I'm like, with flags?
Oh, I know. It's the most peaceful insurrection ever.
Like, oh no, there was a pipe bomb, the worst insurrection ever. And meanwhile, there was an assassination attempt. All these Teslas are getting destroyed. Tesla dealerships up in smoke, and I don't hear much condemnation from the party leaders over there. I didn't hear AOC saying this is terrible. Why don't you guys stop? But she'll jump out there and say January 6th, they came at us with flags. Okay, whatever. So yeah, I think they're totally hypocritical about this. And one thing that I was watching this clip on Glenn Beck, and he was interviewing someone who wrote a book called Butler, and it's coming out soon. And they were talking about how Trump, when he got up and he said, fight, 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 he said he was astounded when he looked at the audience, and people weren't running for their lives. They weren't just like freaking out. They were just all like, what's going on? I mean, some were like, I think most were ducking or whatnot. But then he said, fight, fight, fight. And everyone stood up and cheered. And they all stuck around and helped each other with water and all that. I mean, that is not a hateful, violent mob. And
Blacks are the most surprised when they go to a Trump event, because they've been told this is going to happen, that's going to happen. These are these people. And then they're shocked when they're welcome. That's happened to us. I've been to a few events with the Democrats. Hey, man, you guys are pretty nice. I go, yeah, we're not what the media says. When they had the debates or when they're looking for the endorsement at Lapa, that's happened a couple of times when I went. Yeah, no, you are absolutely correct. It was July 13th with the assassination attempt. And you know why they didn't run? That guy, he would have been dead regardless. Because if they had seen him, they would have mobbed him and killed him. And then they would have sat there and said, see Trump's people there, what they do? Like, you're just trying to get them. Never let that.
They're so violent. Mob justice.
Trump's fundraising for House GOP. So Trump raised millions for the House Republicans for the 2026 midterm. $76 million in 24 hours, bolstering their 2026 war chest. It's going to be a wipeout. Either way, it'll be a wipeout if the tariffs go south or we're not doing well or we get a recession, go south for the Republicans. It's going to go south for the Democrats if Scott Bessent's master plan, check this week's podcast out, people, and you know what I'm talking about, comes through. And I think the $76 million is going to help out, along with Elon, who's going to stay involved. The Democrats are saying, oh, they're scared. All right, call it what you want, but we got $76 million. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's been closer personally. So traditionally the midterms, the opposite party takes over.
Oh, yeah,
it's pretty dramatic, right? So typically, except for one instance, and that was George W. Bush in 2002, and he actually increased the majorities, but that was on the heels of 9/11. So it was an outstanding circumstance, and the country was behind him to basically do what he wanted. I think this time around, I think the Trump voters are going to stay engaged and make it a lot closer than we think, but there's going to be enough to drop off, and I think we'll still maintain a majority in the House, but it will be a thin majority. I think we're at 8 now.
Yeah, but it's going to be close. But I think we're going to win a lot of those close races if the economy does better. Here's the other kicker, and we're going to talk about this next week because I'm waiting for more information. It just came out today. Our favorite Silver Streak woman. We are finding evidence of a lack of election integrity, and I have a task force, something like built on it. That's what you're going to see. And that's what, in my heart, I think a lot of these close losses are actually big victories that have been stolen from us. Every time I bring voter fraud up, and that's why I'm going to bring this up. You know me, I'm on top of the voter fraud stuff. In fact, I need to get one of the election integrity ladies. I'm fired up. But anyway, I think G's right. They're close races, but I think everything goes our way. We're going to clean house with that. The last story was brought to us in terms of the violence by the New York Post. This one here is brought to us by Fox News. The final one of the night, G. Opinion on Biden White House decision making. This is a question. This should be an investigation. I think if we win the midterms, there will be an investigation into nullifying pardons, into who was running the White House, all that, because we'll have the numbers for impeachment. Meaning we can, whoever still, for even maybe congressmen and congresswomen, because this is serious, people. This has nothing to do with partisan politics. Joe Biden was who America elected. I was going to say we, but technically America elected. He wasn't making those decisions. So his advisors are facing criticism. They're saying that Susan Rice and Jake Sullivan were primary decision makers. I half believe that. I truly believe Jill Biden was making most of the decisions, and they were stuck with her because they were stuck with Biden, and they knew they had a moron in Kamala. Now, and there's also anti-Semitism critique. And then I thought about it. I was like, okay, I see that. You allowed all the Palestinian protests. You held up weapons to Israel. So I'm like, yeah, I see that. I see the anti-Semitism. So your thoughts on this, G? And this is from the New York Post.
No, I mean, they're strangely like pro people who create terrorist groups. I mean, it's just bizarre. So if you consider hate crimes, right? If the definition of a hate crime is a crime committed specifically because of someone's race or gender or whatnot, or religion,
Right.
the biggest hate crime group recipient are not blacks, as the media would want you to think, but it's the Jews.
Yep.
And so it just goes uncovered, and we just don't see it. Like, most people are shocked to hear that, but if you look at the statistics in America, that is true. And so it's because one party, the Democrat Party, just lets it happen, right? And a lot of them believe that the Jews and Israel are one and the same, which they're really not. I mean, Israel is a country made up of mostly Jewish people, but they treat one and the same. So it's just disturbing to me. I think we need to protect our Jewish brothers and sisters, and we need to protect Israel as well, I believe. So yeah, I think it's disturbing to hear that Biden's White House was tainted with that. And I think maybe Obama's as well.
Oh, God, Obama hated the Jewish nation and Jews. He hated them. He took their money. But I believe Obama had his masters just like Bush did. You know, the thing about irony about Bush is both his father, both Bush Jr. and Bush Sr., they were riding high after a war, during war, and they screwed it up. Just show the Bushes. Oh, man, Jeb, low energy. Thank God he's gone. Hopefully his batteries ran out of juice. Do you think Jeb will ever make a political comeback, or do you think he's done?
No.
I
Low
think
energy.
I think he missed his window because it's a new generation of Republicans coming. And there you have it, G. G, any final thoughts before we close the show out?
No, these are great hot takes.
There you go. My friends, I hope you enjoyed the clip. Again, do not forget to bookmark grumblingsmedia.com. You can check us out at YouTube, Rumble, Apple, Spotify, y Pandora under the handle Grumblings Media. Stay tuned for next week. We'll have another session of hot takes, as well as our regular Fired Up Show, episode 75. We are moving and trucking along with that. Thank you for tuning in. Do not forget to like and share this podcast. I am William Del Pilar for G Mangani, or the G-Man, and this week's episode of Hot Takes. Until next week, we bid you adieu.
Hey everybody, this is Big John from Grumblings Media, and I just want to say thank you for watching our content. If you want to support our efforts here at Grumblings Media, just smash the subscribe button right here, totally free, or just go ahead and consume more of our great content. Click either one of these two boxes.